Bait for it. In a normal spot. Where's the water? Right there. Tripod is all the way up, but it's only at about 5 feet. And give it another 6 inches for the water. It's only about 6 inches higher than the water. And then look at this. Back away a little bit. That's Fiddler's Point. Look how high up the water goes over the top. And it would go beyond that too. If it wasn't so much light reflecting off the water out there. Okay, the first part of this, I did not change any of the saturation rate, contrast, or brightness. But on this part here, I have played with it a little bit, tried to bring out some more definition in the distant boats. Again, I cannot use my full zoom because everything is distorted out there. But actually, sometimes I think using full zoom is actually worse because, again, here at not full zoom, you can actually see the boat's wake. You can see the white water on both sides of the boat when it's coming towards you. And the distant boats, you can kind of still see some of the wakes being pushed by those. So again, all I do is try to use that to bring out or highlight things a little bit better. And you'll see boats at all different distances, which should make you think, again, I'm only at 5 feet above the water. So again, you'll notice that I'm quite quiet this particular day. I don't say a lot, just trying to listen to nature and observe my surroundings or observe what I'm seeing in the camera. Now, too, you got to remember that, I'm looking at this small viewfinder, and it is very tough to look at it and describe what you're seeing. When you're looking at this tiny little LED screen or whatever you want to call it. So again, when I look at it, when I get home on my computer, I can really see more of what's going on, so I can explain it a little bit better. But again, I always look at my observations as they speak for themselves. I really shouldn't have to be adding anything onto it, but I do like to point out some certain things that should make more sense to people when they do view it. All right, so on this particular day, we got heavy distortion, but our visibility is fairly good. And this is why I say there's multiple effects occurring that heed our vision, that block our vision. And throughout all of my observations, I am learning so much more about what causes these effects. And that's the whole purpose of my channel and why I do such long observations, different days, different conditions, so I can see and learn from them. And that's why I put them out, is hoping that others will learn from them. Even if they don't agree with my opinion of what's occurring, at least I'm giving them my opinion. And that's the main thing that I try to do. And I'm not trying to deceive anybody. I mean, even when I look at these crab traps, you can see them bobbing up and down, which tells me that the wave closer to it is blocking it out. So then when you take into consideration a farther object, farther out, it's going to get more blockage due to those waves. especially when those waves are distorted and you have all the light diffraction or light reflecting off of the water. And we know water is a very good reflector of light. All right, I'm gonna just let it play out, and you can hear the birds and the wind and nature in the background. All right, here we go.
I'll keep an eye on him.
Here they all come. All the shrimpers.
Now, all these shrimp boats and crab boats, they come out of Hernando Beach. Most of them do. There are some that come out from further south, and some of them you'll see coming toward me, and then some of them are going away from me, as that boat right there is actually going away from me. And you can tell a lot of times which way the direction of the boat is actually going. Uh, if you look at the back of the boat, you can tell that it is tilted away, or if you're looking at a perfectly side view, you know it's going across from me. Some of them look like they're going across my vision or across my plane, or going, directly across from me, but they're actually not. They're going out and away, and due to perspective of wherever I'm standing at, even though the boat's going out, it'll look like it's cutting out straight in front of me and going directly behind that Bayport rack. But a lot of those boats are miles beyond that Bayport rack, and they just look like they're right behind it, only because of perspective. At 3.5 miles away, that bird rack, when you see a little sliver of water that's behind it, and a boat go past it, that's actually miles. And that's something that most people don't look at or don't realize.
So the channel markers is a known distance. Oh yeah.
Although that boat is distorted, you can obviously tell that that other boat that was in the distance was much farther beyond this particular boat. Oh, 99% of the time I'm using the movie mode at the 1080, 60 frames per second. Um, and I'm also in the manual mode, and you'll see me trying to focus this thing in better. But again, like I say, you cannot focus on distortion. It will still be distorted. But you can get it focused a little bit better to where you can kind of make out that this is obviously a boat out there moving away from me. Again, look how high that water protrudes up to the top of these trees. Now, like I said, I've got a lot of footage at the same height, sitting in the same place, where that water's down toward the bottom. Not only that, but I'm actually seeing water well over the top of this island that protrudes out. Like I said, that point was Fiddler's Point. You can find it on any Google Earth map, and if you test the distance, it is approximately a mile away. And I'm scanning back toward kind of toward Bayport, the fishing pier area, but it's way to my left. This is just the tree line, or yeah, the tree line that's out there along this island that cuts across my view. And again, here you can still see more water. Um, it's crazy because I've done this before, and I was at Bayport, up on the seawall, um, with an extremely high tide that I did post that video. Um, I posted pieces of it. I don't know if I posted all the footage, but you can definitely see water well above um, this landmass. And here I'm even at a lower perspective, still seeing water above that landmass. Um, and again, due to perspective, everything farther out from me gets smaller. So my eye level is actually still above these islands. So there is more water still protruding up past this point. And that's something too that I know there's been a lot of channels that prove this point and show people, but again, the masses just say, oh, that's light diffracting. It's pulling all that water up from behind the curve and from behind these islands. No, it's not. Again, I have not seen a practical use of or a practical test showing me refraction pulling something up. Like I say, light bends up, but I haven't seen anybody pull an object up from behind a curve. Um, yes, there can be blockage. Um, and again, I think the blockage keeps us from seeing that actual visible water. And I also have my own theory as far as just above that water, there's a concave mirror effect that, you know, also pulls things down, hides it, duplicates the object that reflects objects that are above it, which, again, there's um, Glovers that say, well, you're proving that, this refraction is real. No, I'm not, because I actually know what's going on. After doing 3+ years of observations and studying my observations and really paying close attention to them, I see what I see. And this is not, light refraction does not pull objects up from behind a curve. In my opinion, it does not. And if you noticed from part one to the second part, how that horizon has turned red, that again is like the light diffraction, um, lighting up the atmosphere, as you will. I'm going to call it atmosphere because most people understand what that is. It lights it up, it illuminates it, and it's the sunlight getting down closer to the horizon, or I should say, getting farther away, which makes it appear to get closer to the horizon, um, and it lights up that atmosphere. Now, sometimes there's clouds in this area that, if it's a real cloudy day, there's clouds out there that you can't really see. It's just all illuminated until the sun gets closer to that horizon, and then the clouds really stand out. You can actually see the definition of the clouds. Why? Because the light is making them stand out, and then the light bleeds through the lesser dense clouds, and that's what gives you the illusion that um, there's clouds behind the sun and the moon. All right, now even look at here how that water line actually has gone up higher on Bayport's bird rack. It's higher now. It's not as low as what it was in the beginning. And again, the tide is actually going out, not coming in. So we would expect it to be dropping, not getting further up. But my visibility is slowly getting better and better. Not the distortion, but the. I'd even like to add, if you look at that water line, the hard water line, the visible water line, look how rough it looks. Now, a lot of that is actually distortion. It's like the heat wave going across any object. All right, I would like to say again, like, when I'm zoomed in on an object way out there and you can see birds or like these crab trap buoys bobbing up and down, that is a good way to tell what's going on with an object that's much bigger but much further away. The same thing is occurring. And sometimes you cannot see that water or the wake of the boat due to it being in that area of uh, a lot of times it's hard to explain, but sometimes when you see these far off boats, you see the rigging above it, the shrimp boats. It's almost where you can see through them. The rigging almost gets to where it's at the invisible point, and that's the same thing with the wakes that the boats create, or even the waves. You don't see the waves due to the fact of the angular resolution and because of it being at such a long distance. You cannot see the swells or really the waves that are occurring because of my angle. If I
72
was
degrees.
above the water looking down on it, you would probably see the waves a lot better and the swells much better. And on my coast, I don't have a lot of big, huge waves or swells like they do on the East Coast. But believe me, there's still waves and swells out there. If you got on a boat and went out there, you would know exactly what I was talking about. Which a lot of people apparently have never been out in the Gulf of Mexico in a boat, so they would have no idea. Uh, but these are the things that I. All right, there's the halfway marker to Bayport fixing to come into the screen here shortly. And what I want to say is that I've actually filmed that thing on a day where there was bad visibility and the mirroring was very strong. And you could actually see that that right there was up floating in the air, and the mirroring started before it. And I was at a much higher vantage point filming it on these days. Um, so what gives? You know, is that where they think that the curve starts is a mile away, and you know that it creates this um, marker to float in the air, and some of the other markers are floating in the air. But that is the illusion that, you know, really I try to bring to people's attention. And again, what I think it is, it that mirroring is actually like a concave mirror, just like my concave mirror experiment that I did. Um, that basically showed that something way out there. I'm not sure if that's a boat or if that was a bird rack. Um, but basically shows a mirror image underneath it, even in a concave mirror. And then, you know, if you move away, you actually vanish into your own reflection. And I've done that with the sun. I did a sun simulation where I actually took my concave mirror out and outside, shined it, turned it toward the sun where you could see the sun, and watch the sun actually vanish into its own reflection. Um, and I do gotta say that um, I may have made a big boo boo on one of the channel markers out there, or the beacon lights. But I'm gonna address that in a
Oh,
future
well, that's
video.
back.
What I'm hoping to do is be able to get my boat and go back out to all of these bird racks and get their GPS coordinates, and also videotape and measure their height, their width, and give a little more detailed information on them. All right. Again, I'm going back to the regular audio. Oh, one of the other things that I wanted to bring up was some people talk about the flashing of these beacon lights. When these beacon lights are within that distorted zone or out there being distorted, they do not flash like you would expect them to. Um, the only way that I'm going to get them flashing to where you can actually count the flashes on them is on a one very, very clear visibility night. And if I ever get one of those, I think I'm going to find these couple of other racks that I'm seeing from Pine Island that I can display, show, and prove the distance to. All right, again, thanks for watching, and I appreciate all my new subscribers. I've made it up to 4,000 plus. Thank you.